This is video 2 of I don't know how many, where I go over the story presented in the Warning's second album called Queen of the Murder Scene. I shall proceed assuming you have seen the first video. Last we left off, the Queen, who is the protagonist of the album, decided to go ahead and claim the love of her love interest, which is not for her. What exactly that could mean was measured in the previous video. What follows is a song called Stalker. I'll start with the art on the page, because I think chronologically it happens before the events described in the song. Here we have the Queen sitting in front of what could be a window or a monitor. I'm going to assume this is a monitor where she's making a PowerPoint presentation of her and her love interest's wedding day, or some other such crazy thing. She's in a room with many photographs on the wall. Also, it's hard to say, but on her back it says the one. And here we have a blurry photo with a heart on it, where presumably the person on the photo is her love interest. And I don't know what this thing is. Looks like a ticket or something? I don't know. We're all familiar with the concept of stalking. We know what the Queen has been up to between the previous song and this one. But at the start of the song, she has already taken it a step further. She has reached peak obsession. She has trapped her love interest somewhere and is now speaking to him. For real this time, not just in her thoughts or in her diary. Here she says, "I'll tie the rope, cause I'm yours and you are mine." Which is a deranged way to keep someone by your side, but then it's the Queen we're talking about, so no surprises here. And now that we have set the scene and have a feel of the vibe of the song, let me point out a few things before diving deeper into the lyrics. First, I would like to mention that musically, I am astonished by the song. It seems simple, but it does so many cool things, and it's a brilliant showcase of why Dani is currently my favorite singer. For all the Pau lead vocal lovers out there, I am one of you. Pau could have easily been my number one if she sang more than Dani does. It's a hard choice to make, so I'm cheating by using quantity. Second, and this is sort of related to the story and the emotional impact of the lyrics, but also sort of not related. Look at the plain text. Don't read it, just look at it. You can visually see the mental state of the Queen just by what the words look like. The meaning isn't even important. There's so much repetition going on. And of course, in the booklet, the styling is even more telling. Third, check out this picture from the LUNARIO performance. It looks like the Queen, portrayed by Dani, is acting under the puppeteering of some evil entity that has taken over her mind, represented by the purple lights behind her. Which is a massive coincidence, of course. There ain't no way they intended to do that, but it works quite well. If you watch the LUNARIO video that's only Stalker, rather than watch Stalker from the whole concert video, Dani will also gaze into your soul a couple of times during the piano bit at the start. For some reason they use different camera angles for the two videos, so you can't see that in the full concert video. The vibes of this song are immaculate. Alright, the Queen has captured and tied her love interest and is finally professing her love to him in a way he will never forget for the rest of his life. I like the emphasis in the text of the words "it's crazy" and "I'm a maniac." She says those things all the while explaining how much she loves her love interest. How they belong to each other. How her love for him is only getting stronger. How she needs to have it. All kinds of creepy stuff. Here are some highlights. We know the Queen has tied her love interest. But later in the song, right here, she also locks the door, which is unnecessary if he's tied, but it gets to show you how possessed by the moment the Queen is. Yes, her love interest is tied, but she will lock the door anyway. This is also where she says, "say it again," and again is capitalized because she really likes hearing it, where it is obliging her when she says, "say I'm yours, my dear." Suddenly, the mental image became more vivid, didn't it? More disturbing. This poor, tight person is locked in a room with a maniac and is obeying her commands. But that's not all. Why does she say, "look at me, my dear"? Well, naturally, because he's looking away. He is terrified and desperate, in a bind with no way out at the mercy of a lunatic. And what does she say to him, on top of everything else already mentioned? Yes or no, whichever. I'll have you someday. I'll have you forever. That's a skin-crawling statement right there. And it used to be one of my favorite lines of all time currently. But as I was re-listening to the song for my research and paying closer attention, I found out that I had actually misheard it. I thought it was yes or no, whichever, I'll have you forever, which I like more because that way both lines have the same amount of syllables and whichever and forever rhyme, so it rolls off the tongue, whereas someday is one syllable less than whichever and the two words don't rhyme. It's just not as smooth. Also, it would be more creepy to simply state I'll have you forever, seeing as she already has him locked up and tied down, telling her that she is his. She already has him, she doesn't need to wait for someday. Today is that day. The first and the only day she will have him. Because, as per the Patreon live chat from the 18th of December 2018, Paulina reveals that the Queen murders her love interest at the end of the song. The reason I say it like this, rather than showing you where it happens in the text, is because there is no clear spot where the murder occurs in the text. This really shows you how vague some parts of the story are. If not for the meta knowledge from the live chat, I would have never known that the murder occurs in the song. Regardless, if I were to guess, the murder happens by accident in the bridge, which is this part. I would describe the singing in the bridge as violent, and it's definitely an accident based on what the Queen says in the next song. Then this last bit, the Queen says to the corpse of her love interest, as confirmed by Danny in the chat of the aforementioned Patreon live chat. The last "you are mine" she sings to the corpse, because he can no longer get away from her. The Queen's contentment with the situation, however, does not last. And we know that because the very next song is called Red Hands Never Fade, where the Queen is beset by remorse because of what she has done. On a guess, Red Hands Never Fade happens immediately after Stalker, because in the art of this page there is fresh blood, and the Queen's hands are still bloodied. Which, yeah, it will never fade, but only metaphorically. Also in the top right corner there's what I would call a bloodied fingerprint, and I would call it bloodied because it's a bit more red when compared to the fingerprint on the page of Dust to Dust, which is again this one right here. And there's a second red-ish fingerprint on the picture from the song Stalker, which makes it seem like the events in both songs happened very close to each other, at least to me. Also, I'm not sure why, but the handprints are not the Queen looking at her hands, because if she turns her palms towards her face, the thumbs will be facing outwards. So maybe she's touching a window or a mirror? I don't know what the significance of that is. Speaking of not knowing the significance of things, I don't know what's up with those X's. There's two more over here. Perhaps I'm wrong and the styling of the page comes from immediately after Stalker, and maybe that's when the regrets start rushing in, but the song itself happens 8 days later, and the X's are the Queen counting how long it would take for the red to fade from her hands. Or maybe it's something else. I don't know. And I don't know really is my summary of this song. I get the broad strokes, but on a micro level, the specific words used, I don't quite understand. Let's start with this. The Queen is crazy, and she's expecting answers from a dead person. Fair enough. Up to the end of the pre-chorus, this bit, it actually makes sense. You know, given that she's crazy. The first verse can be summarized with the first two lines. Tell me, what must I do to atone for what I did to your soul? And then she goes on about how she would do anything, even step over fire. A lot of strong regret. There's some cool characterization in the second half. The game you already won. I don't have a degree, but this sounds a bit narcissistic to me. So she thinks her love interest, whom she killed, is playing a game with her by not telling her what she needs to do so he can forgive her, which she wants so she can stop feeling bad. As per the next lines, invisible and bleeding and pleading. Listen to me. That last part capitalized, because what she says is really important. He has to listen. Invisible, of course, meaning that he's not paying attention to her. I don't know, he's dead because she murdered him, and now she's speaking to him with that attitude? I'd say that's quite self-absorbed. Then she all but puts the blame on him for all the guilt that she has to deal with? In the pre-chorus, the Queen says, I know that it was just a mistake, but you don't forgive and you don't forget, with no being capitalized for emphasis. It was just a mistake. She knows, but he doesn't. And so he won't forgive, which presumably is her internal monologue because, again, he's dead. Her guilt manifests in her mind with his image and refuses to forgive her. And okay, so far so good. What's happening in the chorus? To tell you to tell me to tell you that it's alright? What? So she tells him to tell her to tell him that it's alright. So we end up with her telling him that it's alright. Is that what he's not forgiving? No, wait. That actually makes sense. Ooh. She's trying to convince herself that what happened is alright, but her guilt refuses to believe that. And since she's feeling guilty because she killed him, she views the situation as him not forgiving her for saying that it's alright. So she's the one telling him that it's alright, and she's also the one telling him to tell her to say it because. Okay, that's complicated. Let me try to explain. He doesn't believe that it's alright, so when she says that it is, he won't forgive her. That's why she's telling him to tell her that it's okay for her to tell him what happened is alright. Because that way, oh my god. He doesn't believe that what she did is alright, and again, he is the representation of her guilt. So essentially her guilt doesn't believe that what she did is alright. So when she says that it's alright, he, again that being her guilt, will not forgive her. So what ends up happening is she tries to convince herself that it's alright, but her guilt refuses to believe that. But that doesn't help her feel any better. That's why she's telling him to tell her that it's okay for her to tell him that what happened is okay. And again, him being her guilt. It's just that she views it as him because he is the representation of guilt in her mind. Because that way, if he tells her that it's alright, she can be rid of the feelings that devour her, right? Does that make any sense to you? It's like, oh, this is okay. No. Say it's okay for me to say that, otherwise I will feel bad. She's crazy, and my head hurts now. Regardless, the chorus ends with, but we know it ain't, cause red hands never fade, with an exclamation mark at the end. This tells us the outcome of her pleading. It didn't work. Her guilt is still there, still strong, and she still views it as her love interest, who is dead. The demons in her mind won't let her rest. And again, those metaphorical demons being represented by the image of her love interest in her mind, which is why she's speaking to him. Wow, this song actually makes sense. When we take another step closer to our demise after the no longer confusing part means something. That's the other block on the road for me in this song. It could just be a morbid way of noting the passage of time. We do get closer to our demise with every passing second. Tick tock, right? Maybe that's why they have the X's here. And the queen does want to be forgiven sooner rather than later. Maybe it's that simple, and maybe I'm missing something. If you have better ideas, let me know. In the second verse, the queen becomes upset with how her dead love interest seems to have an unfair advantage, and attributes his stubbornness to pride. That's how I read those lines. Tell me, when did you get to decide? Was it a matter of pride? Him deciding is him having the upper hand. Asking when that got to happen is a way of asking how that is fair. Was it a matter of pride? I think asks if he refuses to forgive her because of his pride. Naish mentions betraying, which I assume refers to the betrayal of their love, since she killed him, and that kind of makes love impossible, seeing as one side is now dead. Then this line in capital letters with a red circle, it's overdue. But the queen is not talking about her payment for what she has done. No, that's not what's overdue. In the next line she states, your reason is overdue. Again, I'm getting narcissism vibes here. The queen then says, come on, I just want the truth. Do I resemble the rage and the chains that tied you down? This is also going to be difficult to explain. I believe the queen is referring to herself tying him in the previous song, and then accidentally murdering him in a fit of rage. Simple enough so far. Now, she wants the truth of whether she resembles the person who did that, because that's where her guilt comes from. Because if her true self did not do that, then she can offload the guilt. This is the same thing she has been singing about this whole song, just worded differently. The queen refuses to believe that she did what she did because that's just too painful for her to handle. And this ties very well into the next song. Almost like they wrote it like that on purpose. Before I depart from this song, however, I should probably mention that there are plenty of whoa-ohs in the song, which are not in the lyrics here because why would the queen write those down? But they are a nice non-lyrical way to express the queen's anguish in the song. This song also has an extra pre-chorus and 2 extra choruses, which I assume are a musical addition for the song and, strictly speaking, aren't part of the story. This happens in more than just this song, and I probably won't mention it in the future for brevity's sake. Anyway, if the queen is not, by her words, the rage and the chain that killed her love interest, then who is? Before I move on to the next song, in the booklet there's this picture. This is the band, those three. And at the back there's someone working at a diner maybe? That's very run down. This is a mirror, I believe. This is a painting, but it could be a mirror because there's holes in the wall here and then here as well. I don't know if it has any significance. It might just be a homage to the band. But if it does have significance, please let me know. In the next song, enter a new character making her first appearance. Well, sort of a new character. The Queen's twisted mind has created an alternate personality, a manifestation of the rage and the chains that the Queen refuses to be. We shall call this new personality the evil side, which is a bit on the nose, but it will make sense to refer to her that way in future songs. For now, she is a deceptively benevolent agent who offers to take over the Queen's burdens. But we know better than that. She was created to carry the sins of the Queen, and thus she is a sinner. An unapologetic one at that, for such is her nature. Such is her origin. That is what is required of her. I love the sacrifice. Then again, I love all of the songs on the album. Anyway, given everything I have just said, the art of this song should make all the sense to you. We have the Queen looking at her bloodstained hands, and the evil side behind her trying to comfort her. Okay, let's set the stage. The Queen has manifested an alternate personality, which she blames for what she did. That way, she can go on about her life without drowning in her guilt. Things, however, don't seem to be going swimmingly. The evil side addresses the Queen in the first verse with the words, "Please don't hide from me. I see through the fake smile that you've been wearing. Don't lie to me." This is how we know things aren't going well for the Queen. She is faking being okay, but she's not. And "don't lie to me," being written with big letters and underscored with a red pencil, gives us a glimpse at perhaps frustration on the side of the evil side. Or perhaps she simply emphasizes that the Queen can't lie to her, seeing as they share the same noggin. In the second part of the first verse, the evil side explains the Queen's feelings to her, I think as a way of earning the Queen's trust, to show that she understands the Queen, to connect. Then there's the line, "Don't reject the darkness in your eyes," which is where a first-time listener would first get the hint that the speaker might not be a nice person. This line also suggests that even though the Queen has offloaded her actions to the evil side, not only did she not rid herself of the guilt, but she also still has the darkness. What darkness? There's a hint in the pre-chorus. And I have to say, my god, that pre-chorus. I love the way they sing it, and I love the music in it. It is exquisite. I would like to note that one more simple question being styled like this is not an accident. This is a manipulation technique by the evil side where she basically tries to get the Queen to reach the evil side's conclusions on her own. That's why she phrases it as a question rather than stating what she wants to state. Because if the Queen reaches that conclusion on herself, then of course she'll believe it. She's a clever cookie, that evil side. The lines, the emotion, the commotion that fuels your every need, that fuels your fantasy. That's the question, and the answer comes in the chorus. This is also where the evil side shows her cards and reveals that she is, in fact, the evil side. It's the sacrifice of life to sacrifice it all. Except what the evil side is talking about is not the sacrifice of the Queen's life, but rather the sacrifice of all life. Otherwise, why would she sing to live for it? It's murder lust. That's what's been on the Queen's mind, and that's what drives the evil side, because she was created to fill that role. And here you can answer an important question to yourself. Is the Queen filled with murder lust because she created a murderer in her head to deal with her oppressive guilt? Or was that murder lust always within her and is bubbling up now because she has tasted blood? I reckon, given the way I have described the previous songs, you already know where I lean. I think she always had it in her. Murdering someone may have started the fire, and the alternate personality may have stoked it, but I think the coals were always there. Anyway, in the chorus, the evil side also suggests that if the Queen continues to do nothing and try to fake her way through life, she will inevitably be unable to resist the temptation of the dark side. The evil side. If you let this go much further, there'll be no turning back from me. Then, the evil side promises that she will be a competent operator of their body if the Queen cedes control, and she will be devoted to the sacrifice of life. So yeah, not a nice person. "It's in the air that you breathe" is also a cool line, because it suggests that this whole thing, the Queen's fantasies, are unavoidable. I won't go over the rest of the lines in this song in detail, even though they are a masterclass of writing corruption. I swear, damn near every instance of corruption in media that I have seen pretty much boils down to they used magic, and now this good person is evil. Ha 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 ha. This is not that. This shows the actual process. In the rest of the song, the evil side is tempting the queen by saying that if the evil side takes over, she will be the one to bear the burden of the queen's guilt, which is eating her up inside. She's giving actual good reasons to succumb to the evil side and seek control. What if you could just let go? I will lead, you just follow. All your thoughts of tomorrow, I will make them disappear. Hand it over and all the pain will be mine to keep. Where another cool thing that they have done in the booklet that is not in the song is when they sing one more simple question, that's the pre-chorus and it goes into this text, and the second time they sing one more simple question, it goes to the same text in the song. This here is the bridge, but instead of repeating the same thing, they have used the one more simple question to ask the question that's posed in the bridge. What if you could just let go? And that's just, fantastic. Very well done. Now, I will be remiss not to mention that the chorus could also be interpreted as the evil side promising that she would take the queen's pain away, and that's what she will be devoted to, the queen's inner peace. And all that it would cost is the sacrifice of the queen's life, because then the evil side would be taking over their body. Now, I actually like this interpretation more because it's a more elegant way of portraying manipulation, rather than the evil side straight up revealing her intentions. However, in the booklet, the chorus appears only once, and the evil side has not promised to take away the pain before it. She does that after the chorus. So when she says it, she cannot be referring to that because she hasn't mentioned it yet. I tried to make this interpretation work in my head, but I just couldn't. Instead, to me, the evil side does reveal her intentions. And then after that, she tries to convince the queen that it will be worthwhile to surrender herself to the evil side. And, of course, things progress in the next song. And of course, they progress in the worst possible way. It wouldn't be good storytelling otherwise. But that's a story for another video. This one is getting quite lengthy already. If, at the time of you watching this, the chapter 3 video is finished and published, there will be a link to it in the description, maybe a pinned comment, and you should be able to see it somewhere on your screen. Cheers, and take care.